Hello, students. Have you ever really looked at a plant and wondered, how does a sunflower always seem to face the sun? Or how does a creeper know exactly how to climb up a wall? Well, it's not magic. It's something called coordination. And today, we are going to understand exactly how plants can sense and respond to the world around them. We generally think of plants as, well, things that just stand still. They don't move around like we do or like animals do. So it's a very good question to ask. Do they actually respond to what's happening around them? Let's find out the answer to this today. All right, so here is what we are going to cover today. First, we will answer that question. Do plants respond? Then we will look at two types of movements, the quick ones and the slow ones. We'll also understand something very important called tropic movements. We'll summarize the differences, which is important for your exams. And finally, we'll see what's next. So let's start with our first topic. Do plants respond? The answer is a definite yes. Plants do respond. But what's really fascinating is how they respond. You see, unlike animals, plants don't have a nervous system, right? No brain, no nerves. So they must have their own special way of reacting to things. Now, to understand this properly, we need to know two important words. The first word is stimulus. So what is a stimulus? It's any change in the environment that causes an organism to react. For a plant, this could be light, or touch, or even gravity and water. All these are examples of a stimulus. And the second word is response. A response is simply the reaction to a stimulus. So, for example, if light is the stimulus, what is the plant's response? The response is that the plant bends towards the light. So the stimulus causes the response. It's a cause and effect relationship. Very simple. Okay, so now we know that plants respond, but their responses can be seen as movements, and there are two main types of movements. Let's first look at the quick, temporary ones. The important thing to remember here is that these movements are not related to growth. The plant is moving, but it is not growing. I'm sure you have all seen the touch-me-not plant, right? The chui-mui plant. What happens when you touch it? You touch the leaves and, poof, they just fold up and droop, almost instantly. This is a perfect example of a quick movement that has nothing to do with growth. And you can see it right here. On the left, the leaves are open, but on the right, after being touched, you can see they have completely folded up. This is that immediate response we are talking about. So how does this happen? The plant doesn't have muscles, so how can it move so fast? It's actually very clever. The plant cells, they change their shape by changing the amount of water inside them. When you touch the leaf, water moves out of certain cells, so they shrink, and the leaf folds. And when the water moves back in, the cells swell up, and the leaf opens again. Remember, this is all because of water movement. It is not growth. All right, so that was the first type of movement. Now, let's talk about the second type, the slow growth-based movements. Now, these are very different. They are slow, they are directional, which means they happen in a particular direction, and they are permanent. Why? Because they are a result of growth. This special kind of directional movement that is caused by growth has a name. It's called tropism. Please remember this word, tropism. It is the directional growth of a plant part in response to a stimulus. It can be towards the stimulus or away from it. Now, based on the type of stimulus, there are different types of tropism. So let's look at the main types of these tropic movements one by one. The first one is phototropism. The word photo means light, so phototropism is the movement of a plant in response to light. The shoot of the plant, it always bends towards the light. This makes sense, right? Because the plant needs light for photosynthesis. But what about the root? The root grows away from the light, down into the soil. Next, we have geotropism. Geo means related to the earth. So this is the plant's response to gravity. It's very simple. The shoot always grows upwards away from gravity, and the root always grows downwards towards gravity. This helps the plant anchor itself firmly in the soil. Then there is hydrotropism. Hydro, as you know, means water. So this is the movement of roots towards water. And finally, chemotropism. Chemo refers to chemicals. A very good example of this is the growth of the pollen tube towards the ovule during pollination, guided by chemical signals. Okay, now let's quickly summarize the key differences between these two types of movements. This is a very common question in exams, so let's make sure we understand it perfectly. Let's look at the table. First, speed. The immediate movement is very fast, right? Like the chewy mooey plant. But the tropic movement is very slow. You can't see it happening. Second, relation to growth. The immediate movement is not dependent on growth, but tropic movement is dependent on growth. In fact, it is growth. And finally, the nature of the movement. The immediate movement is temporary. It's reversible. The leaves will open again. But tropic movement is permanent and irreversible. Once the plant has grown towards the light, it stays that way. So what have we learned? We've learned that plants are not just passive, still objects. They are actually constantly and actively responding to their world. Even though they are fixed in one place, they are very much alive and reacting to everything around them. So now we know that plants respond. But this brings up a very interesting question. How do they do it? What is controlling all this? I mean, what is it that tells the plant to bend towards the light? What is the internal signal? Or what tells the leaves of the Touch Me Not plant to fold? There must be some kind of message being sent inside the plant, isn't it? Well, the answer is chemical signals. And these chemical signals have a special name. In our next explainer, we are going to learn all about these chemical messengers that make all this coordination possible. We will be studying plant hormones. Thank you.